Let's go. Hey everyone, I am MSK, aka Master Swag King, coming at you guys today with another video. And if you guys are returning viewers or new viewers, then please consider subscribing to the channel if you have not already. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video or go live. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about Joker Folie à Deux, which is a sequel to the 2019 film Joker. The Joker movie came out back in 2019 and was a huge box office hit. The movie went on to gross over $1 billion at the worldwide box office, and then shortly after that, a sequel was announced. So there are several things that I actually want to tell you guys before I start going over the other information that I want to tell you guys in this video, because whenever you talk about the 2019 Joker movie, the conversation goes in several different directions. But I will tell you guys this first. I enjoyed the 2019 Joker movie. I did not watch the movie originally in theaters. I ended up watching it on HBO Max, which is now obviously called Max, when I was subscribed to that streaming service. And overall, I did enjoy the movie, but it did have some glaring flaws. But the one thing that mostly everybody can agree with was that this movie did not need a sequel. I just found no reason for this movie to get a sequel, but that's the big part about what I want to convey to you guys is it doesn't really matter if you don't consider a movie worthy enough to get a sequel. It really just depends on the box office performance of said movie. Now, I agree with you guys. I don't think this movie deserves a sequel either, but the Joker film ended up actually making $1 billion worldwide on a budget of roughly around 55 to about $70 million, right? So you got to factor in, if they put in like that amount of money and they got that return on it, of course there's going to be a sequel, regardless of if we don't think it deserves a sequel, actually. And I want to make sure I re-emphasize that. I do not think this movie needed a sequel at all. So the biggest problem with the Joker movie for me is that it started having some weird elements in it. Like, for some reason, they tried to tie the Joker into like Bruce Wayne and the Wayne family. There was a part toward the end of the movie where it showed like Joe Chill killing off Bruce's parents. Like, why does that stuff need to be in there? I do disagree with people that it is a Joker origin movie because the movie is loosely based off The Killing Joke written by Alan Moore. And if people don't actually understand the fundamental point of that book, right when it gets the dialogue that Joker tells Batman, where he says, if I have an origin story, I prefer it be multiple choice. And that was pretty much confirmed at the end of the movie when it's revealed that he is just in an insane asylum. So was all of this stuff happening in the movie? How accurate is it? Because as people know, the Joker is quite literally mentally deranged, actually. And overall, I thought the movie actually was very paced very well. The acting is great. Like I said before, barring the things I didn't like about it, I understand the gripes people have with it, but I disagree on the aspect that it was a Joker origin movie, because the Joker has no origin, actually, And especially if they're taking it from The Killing Joke, which is even more of a reason why it's not an origin movie, because he prefers it being multiple choice, like he said, because he is mentally deranged. Now, later on, it's revealed that we are getting a Joker 2. And it was also revealed that the director of the first Joker movie, Todd Phillips, would be coming back, and that they would actually be hiring Lady Gaga to portray Harley Quinn, the Joker's longtime love interest. And the sequel was actually going to be a musical. So there's all these different elements piling up against the movie. The one thing that I said back then that I will say right now in this video is that I actually think Lady Gaga, if you look at it just in theory, is a good choice for Harley Quinn. She definitely looks like Harley Quinn, and if you've seen her music videos, she definitely is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Let's just say that. So that casting choice to me is awesome, but now, can she portray the Harley Quinn that we all know and love? And specifically, if you're talking about these Joker movies, I really doubt it, honestly. It's going to be a completely different take on Harley Quinn, which is going to be subjective on whoever you're going to be asking about her performance, right? So then, I want to also drive this point home through. The first Joker movie only made $1 billion because it's Joker. People kept saying it made $1 billion because it was appealing to people with mental health issues, and it's like, no. People don't understand this. Joker is one of, if not one of the most popular characters ever created in fiction. The character drove its own box office because Joker is an extremely popular character, just like how the Barbie movie did that earlier this year in 2024, and also you got a chance to see that. Oh, sorry. Barbie came out last year, but the point still stands. You also had the Super Mario Brothers movie last year, also proving that Mario and Barbie, just as a property alone, can just have people flock to the box office because of the name value of said brand. That's the only reason why Joker made that much money. It had nothing to do with any other external factor other than Joker is extremely popular and people wanted to see the movie. Obviously, the trailers were rather interesting, I would say. The other thing to bring up also is DC. I really don't understand why they make movies like these. Why are we getting villain solo movies? But to be fair, this is basically kind of like a DC Black Label movie. It doesn't count in the grand scheme of things toward an actual cinematic universe. Because back then, you would make the argument of like, wait, why are we getting a Joker movie if we have the DCEU? But this is something that DC's always done. They've always made really bad decisions, both Warner Brothers and DC. So moving forward, hopefully with James Gunn, we will not have these issues anymore because James Gunn has explicitly stated that if anything is not connected to the DCU moving forward, it is going to be labeled DC Black Label because, I actually personally think they should have kind of tied this Joker movie into the Batman that later on released back in 2022. It would have been nice to see like these worlds actually be, connected because I think this movie and the Batman movie complement each other very well. So the other thing to move forward on with the video is how much this movie made both domestically and internationally. Those are the biggest things to worry about because the movie actually did very, very well domestically. It brought in about $335 million domestically, right? Internationally, this movie brought in $743 million. Now, that's actually insane when you think about how much profit the studio took in when regarding the movie's budget, which I mentioned earlier was about around what? $55 to $70 million, right? So a sequel was coming no matter what because the amount of money they dropped into this movie versus how much they got, it's guaranteed. And I still want to make sure I reemphasize this. I know it doesn't deserve a sequel. This movie should just be a one and done, whatever take Todd Phillips had, which he had in the movie, which was good in my opinion for whatever that needed to be. And that's it. You don't need to have more of this because it's just not needed because there's no other story to tell, So then Joker Folie à Deux is coming out this week at the time of me recording this video. And this movie actually has a budget of roughly around $190 to $200 million. So the reason why that is going to be the problem moving forward is because the reason why the studio invested more money into this movie than the sequel is because they obviously saw the 10x return that they got on it. So they thought that, hey, if I just actually invest more money into the budget, we can get even bigger 10x return. I'm just talking from a studio point of view. But obviously, Joker as a movie doesn't even need that big of a budget. Like the budget they had for the 2019 movie made perfect sense. I would say you can get even lower than that. You could probably do these movies on like a $20 million budget or a $10 million budget, but I digress. The actors, the big ones, need to get paid, obviously, right? So them investing $200 million into this movie is actually just insane, And given the landscape of what I've talked about in previous videos last year, remember when I was showing you guys the actual downfall of DC movies, the live action ones, in the form of the box office? Even the Batman really didn't make that much money for the studio if you really look at the numbers attached to it, obviously, right? So DC movies have not been doing very well financially, and compared to when Joker was released, keep in mind, Joker is one of the 3 DC movies to take in $1 billion. The Dark Knight did it first, then you have Aquaman, the 2018 one with Jason Momoa, and then you have Joker, right? This movie's not making $1 billion like its predecessor. There's no way. We're in a completely different landscape than we were for the movie theaters compared to then versus now. It's just what it is, right? So the next thing to bring up, obviously, is Nerdrotic, since he's on the East Coast and I like Gary. I've met Gary twice in real life. I like Gary a lot, like his videos. He saw Joker Folia Ducks and he tweeted, if you were wondering if Joker needed a sequel, it didn't. Hashtag Joker Folia Ducks. And you could just see just the comments just going like, Nina Infinity said, I haven't heard a single good thing about this movie yet. That's actually crazy too, because that's my understanding too. I have not heard a single good thing about this movie either. The word of mouth on this movie, just for right now, has been absolutely egregious. I doubt it's going to end up changing when the movie ends up dropping. Project Eggroll, oof, looks like I'm going to be spending that money on some good dog meat. oh, Lord Jesus. Lily says, oof, there goes my excitement for this. Was it a bait and switch? Telepathic Bunny says, but they had to destroy the toxic male they create. Oh, Lord. God, toxic. Oh, Bunny. Good Lord, man. Yeah, like, I really have no idea what this sequel was even supposed to achieve. Like, hey, they put a random Joker movie. It made $1 billion. Cool. You just ride your high horse off that, and that's it. Or connect it, in my opinion, with the Matt Reeves Batman movie. Have this Joker be that Batman's main adversary, not the Barry Keoghan one in that deleted scene, because that was just yikes. That was terrible, actually, right? But Warner Brothers and DC really never make good decisions, so hopefully James Gunn can fix that. So the movie ended up releasing actually last month, and then the Rotten Tomato score originally, from what I remember, was around 70 something percent. It was about 72, 75%, which is already like yikes, right? And then as more screenings for it came out and people got a chance to see it, the Rotten Tomatoes score for the movie ended up being about 48% as of right now when I am recording this video, and that is really, really, really bad. Now, keep in mind, I think Rotten Tomatoes is skewed on some things, but they have did the whole like new popcorn meter thing, which I think is kind of cool actually. But keep in mind, a lot of other critical review sites also have reflected this score as well. And keep in mind, Rotten Tomatoes is a review aggregator. It just gathers all the reviews of the critics and the fans, right? It's not definitively saying that the movie's a 48%. What it's saying is that basically combining it from the mix of aggregative reviews, and based on the scores of the critics, that's the score it gets, obviously, right? So this would indicate the movie is bad, actually, right? So then, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes and you look at Joker Folia Ducks, and they've obviously changed up the website a little bit here. You can just go to some of the critic reviews right here. They have it more splintered up right now. I don't know why this ad is here. God, I hate ads, man. All right, so right here, you look at View All, and we're going to look at what some of the critics have been saying. Top critic from Chicago Sun-Times, Richard Ropier, says, there's always a Joker, there's always a clown, but if he doesn't morph into something bigger and bolder and more terrible, it starts to feel like we've seen this show before, only without the musical numbers. Peter Howell of Toronto Star, writer-director Phillips and co-writer Scott Silver obviously had no idea what kind of movie they were trying to make. Joker had something to say to the world. Folia Ducks just seems to be muttering and warbling incoherently to itself. Sandra Hill of Sydney Morning says, we've become very familiar with Marvel and DC's habit of reimagining the histories of their superheroes and supervillains, but this one is wildly misconceived, a small story inflated by grandiose intentions. Yes, I agree with her. What's the point of all these reimaginings? You know, like, it's stupid at the end of the day. You know, I fully agree with her. Patrick McDonald of WBGR FM, I don't know. I thought this was bold and audacious. What this madness then breaking into a song and moment's notice. Okay, all right. Okay. Audie Henderson of Boston Globe says, I can't imagine fans enjoying what Phillips does with the Joker here. But then again, studios are counting on you to see these comic book movies, no matter how poorly they're made. With rare exception, audiences flock to give DC and Marvel their money. Actually, that's not true. Specifically regarding with DC, fans have been actively not watching the DC movies, especially domestically. Domestically, these movies have been performing like absolute trash, right? Marvel's in that same boat right now too. This, like, the MCU just can't just dump out a movie and hope to make a good amount of money like they used to, because it's just not that way anymore when it comes to how people view the movies and their perception right now. We also have Liz Shannon Miller of Consequence. Folia Ducks never digs deep enough into the moral questions presented to come up with anything substantial to say. Oh yeah, you can see the critics are just absolutely just destroying this movie. Right here, Nick Shagger, the Daily Beast, so determined to avoid satisfying fans that it's borderline antagonistic as actively hostile to genre conventions as its protagonist is to the world at large. Good God, yeah, critics are absolutely just destroying this movie right now. Oh my goodness. All right, so then we have this right here with even with Lady Gaga, Joker 2 will struggle to match 2019's Joker in box office debut, actually. In 2019, Joker became an improbable box office smash and cultural juggernaut. Sure, the rated R crime drama was based on the ubiquitous Batman villain, but this take on the clown prince of crime was darker and more disturbing than your average comic book adaptation. More akin to Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver than the DC anti-hero adventure The Suicide Squad. Directed by Todd Phillips and starring Joaquin Phoenix, Joker beats the odds and controversy over security concerns to generate $1.07 billion in worldwide ticket sales against a trim $65 million budget. After the Warner Brothers release became one of the most profitable superhero movies in history and earned 11 Oscar nominations, a sequel was all but destined. Yet, the second film, Joker Folia Ducks, which opens in theaters on Friday, may not get the last laugh. The follow-up, bringing back Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck and introducing Lady Gaga as his accomplice Harley Quinn, is tracking to collect $50 million to $65 million from 4,100 North American theaters in its box office debut. It's a steep drop from the first film, which launched to a stellar $96.2 million during the same weekend in 2019 and set an October opening weekend record. As for Folia Ducks, those projected ticket sales aren't exactly a cause for concern, but they are something of a disappointment given the blockbuster success of the original. The sequel carries a substantially larger $200 million price tag. And also, that's the other problem too. This movie carrying a $200 million price tag, not including marketing, the movie would have to essentially make around $900 million, $800 million lowest to break even. You're looking at this movie has to basically hit $1 billion to make profit for the studio, like the previous movie did. And given its reception currently so far, I doubt that is going to happen, actually. Joker 2 is expected to perform far better at the international box office, with estimates of $80 million to $85 million over the weekend. With those forecasts, the film could end up with anywhere from $130 million to $150 million globally by Sunday. On paper, Joker Folia Ducks has the makings of another certified sensation. I really doubt that. Phoenix is reprising his Oscar-winning role, starring alongside an actor who is known for committing as intensely to her craft and who happens to be one of the biggest pop stars on the planet. Lady Gaga has been very big for a long time, but sure. However, industry experts believe the sequel's premiere at Venice Film Festival ended up tampering some of the buzz and contributed to softer than expected box office projections. It makes sense that Warner Brothers wanted to bring back Folia Ducks. It makes sense that Warner Brothers wanted to bring Folia Ducks back to the Lido after Joker took home the Fest's top prize 5 years ago. Yet critics and festival attendees weren't as enthusiastic about the sequel, leading to weeks of meh word of mouth before general audiences could see the movie. Critics were mixed on the original film as well. Joker landed a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, while Folia Ducks is currently at 63%, and as we know now, it is at 48%. So it's possible that curiosity will again inspire moviegoers to turn out in force in order to judge the movie for themselves. So, yeah, we're gonna have to see just how this movie does, okay? It's gonna be, because that's the thing, it has to essentially have a big opening weekend. Keep in mind, guys, the projections for this movie are about what? Like they said, what? 40 something $million. The original one was 96. Though Joker 2 isn't this weekend's only newcomer, the comic book sequel will easily tower over domestic box office charts. Also new to theaters is Lionsgate's Whitebird, billed as a prequel and sequel to 2017 sleeper hit Wonder, starring Jacob Tremblay. It's aiming for single digits over the weekend. It's a notable decline from Wonder, which opened to 27 million and powered to a sizable 132 million domestically and $314 million globally by the end of its run. So that's the thing here is, Lionsgate is a non-factor. I don't even know why this is a part of their article. This doesn't mean anything. Lionsgate's movies are very hit or miss when you're talking about just box office numbers. And Lionsgate's had a lot of bad will with the fans recently because of recent movies like The Crow reboot, Borderlands. Yeah, great cinema we had there, right? So that's my opinion right there when it comes to this. I saw this and I wanted to cover it. This is... Variety's been having some really, really cringe articles come out like this one. We'll go over maybe in a future video. Toxic fandom, just all this bullshit. I'm gonna say right now, this movie's not doing well as the first one, which they easily, have mentioned in the article. But it's like, come on, like, why would the other movie, like, come on, guys, Joker is so popular. That other movie coming out might as well not even be a factor in the conversation. Who knows? It might even be better. But, like, Joker is gonna dominate the box office, potentially. And it most likely will because, obviously, it's Joker. So, Joker Folie à Deux won't make $1 billion, but can it still be a hit? Well, that's the thing, is if you're talking about will it be a hit with the fans, that's a completely subjective thing. But if you're talking about a hit for the studios, no, the studios want that $1 billion box office hit. Keep in mind, movies like this one, if they don't perform, this is with all big blockbuster tentpoles. If they don't perform very well within about 2 to 3 weeks, you can kind of see if they're going to be profitable or at least have some traction, or you see them just fizzle out. Now, I'm not too sure about what the other October releases are. I know that Venom 3 is coming out, so Venom 3 will also probably, chew at this box office for Joker Folie à Deux. The follow-up to the Oscar-winning DC drama hits theaters with a higher budget and lower opening weekend projections. 5 years ago, Warner Brothers and Todd Phillips' Joker pulled off a series of firsts, including the first comic book film to win the Golden Lion and the Best Actor Oscar, as well as the first R-rated film to gross $1 billion at the global box office. See, this is the problem that I have with just articles like these. I don't mind reading them for video purposes, but these awards mean nothing. Awards are meaningless to fans. I'm not winning this shit. And I don't need validation of awards to say that my movie might be better than yours. Doesn't matter, obviously. Joker Folie à Deux will not reach that $1 billion mark, but there's still a chance that the follow-up can be a hit film for Warner if fans of the original embrace the musical numbers that take place inside Arthur Fleck's fractured mind. That's the thing is, if you read people's thoughts on this movie online before it came out, the musical thing is what turned them off. Why would the musical number make them want to check in when, hey, I don't hate musicals like other people do, but a lot of people do not like musicals. It's just a thing, right? That's why a lot of them as movies don't come out anymore and they're just thrown on streaming services. Warner Brothers is projecting an opening weekend in the $50 million range, which would put it in the neighborhood of the $55 million opening earned by last year's big DC flop, The Flash. And we saw what happened with The Flash. The Flash was an absolute disaster for the studio. Also, keep in mind, this is the only DC movie coming out this year. Typical in DC fashion, the only movie that comes out usually ends up being a flop. But, it does depend on which year you're talking about, which is not many years because they've only had so many wins at the box office when you're considering DC movies, right? And this is why I've always said, movies like these need to be in a more of a structured manner because people are going to be why are we getting a Joker 2 when we don't even have a DC universe? It's just so much bullshit DC puts their fans through. It's so dumb. Like the first film, reviews for Folie à Deux are mixed, currently standing at 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. Back in 2019, those reviews meant little to audiences who were floored by Joaquin Phoenix's Oscar-winning performance as a failed, mentally ill comedian pushed to his breaking point by the cruelty of Gotham City, which transformed him into the clown prince of crime and Batman's greatest adversary. But pre-release projections suggest that a substantial portion of moviegoers are either uninterested in the chain structure of Folie à Deux or simply aren't interested in more of Phoenix's Joker, even with the addition of Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn, Phillips' interpretation of Joker's right-hand lady. The projected 50 million opening would be about half of the 96 million that Joker opened to in 2019, setting a still standing record for the highest ever opening weekend in October. I don't know if Deadpool and Wolverine is still in theaters, but if it is, I would just go and watch that. Any movie, I don't care what's out there, don't watch this. Because if you watch this movie in theaters, most likely, and if it actually does very well, which that's just a flip of the coin anyway, I doubt they're making a third movie to this. But holy crap, would that just send a horrible message? A movie potentially as bad as this movie from the word of mouth making $1 billion. That's insane. But hey, if the audience decides it's what they want to see, I can't argue with it. While Joker had a $60 million budget, some reports have Folie à Deux sporting a production spend of $200 million. Phillips has refuted that figure in interviews, though he did say it cost considerably more to produce this film, which he and Warner's do not call a sequel, but rather a new story that uses Joker as a framework for Lee's own character. That is so stupid. Oh my god. It's just so dumb. Obviously, this is a sequel. What is this? Fucking hell. Jeez, man. As a part of that arc, Joker and Lee take part in several Dreams musical sequences over the course of the film, something that has been frequently discussed by Phillips, Gaga, and Phoenix during their press tour, but is somewhat de-emphasized in the film's trailers. While not to the degree of trailers for other recent musical movies like Mean Girls, which did not promote its musical numbers and its marketing at all, Folie à Deux opts to focus more on the burgeoning relationship between Arthur and Lee's inside Arkham Asylum. As The Wrap pointed out earlier this year, Hollywood has avoided marketing musicals as musicals because the genre carries more financial risk. Yes, this is the same thing also with rom-coms, It's becoming a very apparent thing that those types of genres don't draw in a crowd anymore. Another DC misfire. With a budget of only slightly lower than the CGI-heavy DC spectacles that Joker deviated from, is Folie à Deux headed for a fate similar to the superhero misfires that Warner Bros. Put out last year ahead of James Gunn's 2025 franchise reboot? Even the best performing of those 2023 films, Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom, had to leg out over the holidays to get into break-even territory. And if we're talking about all the reshoots that movie had and how many times it got delayed, it only made $439 million worldwide. That's crazy. And we know marketing attached to that $300 million budget, it didn't even break even. It's just a total loss. Less than half of the $1.15 billion the first Aquaman made. As with many movies, it will become clearer how well Joker 2 is going to do after its second weekend. Yes, because usually movies like these, like I mentioned in previous videos, are very front-loaded, so the amount of people that'll go back and watch them is either just repeat viewings, and that is also based off of word of mouth. The 55 million opening for The Flash was a letdown given the hype behind it, but it was the brutal 72% drop in its second weekend that sealed its fate. Yeah, it's kind of like the notion of, or it's the saying of, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish, but usually with movie theaters, it's kind of like how you start versus how you finish. It really just depends, obviously. Exhibitor sources said overseas tracking for Joker 2 is stronger than it was for The Flash, which could help lessen the blow if the film can't leg out domestically. After loyal fans of Joker and Lady Gaga show up alongside each other opening weekend, Joker 2 will need enough traction to keep it going as the primary moneymaker for theaters in October's. If not, that could leave the door open for upcoming sequels like Paramount's Smile 2, which actually did very well when it came out back in 2022 when Smile dropped. Yeah, it was a decent little box office hit right there. Well, to be fair, it's a horror movie. They're not made for that much money, obviously. And Sony's Venom: The Last Dance to draw in moviegoers looking for darker mainstream fare. Also, we gotta factor in, since it's October, like this is a big month for horror, obviously. It's the biggest month in general for horror movies. Other like random slasher and other types of horror genre movies are going to end up coming out as well. So you must also consider the fact that this movie is going to be competing with those ones as well, not even just the big blockbuster tentpoles. I don't really think Venom: The Last Dance is going to be drawing in a big crowd. If you look at the Sony like Spider-Man villain universe movies, only Venom 1 did very well at the box office. Venom 2 did way less better than Venom 1. Morbius flopped, Madam Web flopped. Later on, after Venom: The Last Dance, we're getting like Crib and the Hunter. I truly don't think those movies are a box office threat at all. But then again, I could be wrong, given the fact that if you guys have seen the last Venom trailer, they introduced a very, very prominent villain character that they could have just used for another big event movie. But, you know, I digress, because these studios have shown time and time again they are just complete idiots and out of ideas at all. So, yeah, it's it for me. What do you guys think about Joker Folie à Deux? Are you going to be watching this movie in theaters? I might. Keep in mind what I just said there. I might go watch this at the movie theaters. I might do an episode, a full day of going to the movie theater on it. I might do it, give or take how busy I might be. Or if I don't go, obviously, this week, then I'll just go on my next day off, actually. So, yeah, DC has only one live-action movie coming out this year, and it's looking like it might not be the box office hit that the first one was. And keep in mind, I want to make sure I hammer this point in like I did earlier in the video. The first one only did well because it was called Joker, okay? Literally, Joker is one of the most popular characters ever made. Now, when that kind of is over, when you're like, okay, I've seen it, this one would have to offer something substantially so much different, and based on what we already know, and the musical number added to it, people aren't really looking out or checking for this. And this is the reason why DC constantly fails. They keep making movies that nobody wants at all, and then get confused when they don't perform very well. Yeah, you can look at Joker and go, well, that one did very well. Look at all the other ones they made that also didn't do very well, and really apply that to a consistent line of box office numbers. You're not going to find it, obviously. So, yes, thank you guys for checking out this video. If you're a returning viewer or new viewer, then please subscribe to the channel. If you have not already, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it and comment down below. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell. That way you guys can get notified on whenever I upload a brand new video or go live. I am MSK, aka Master Swag King, and I'm signing out, guys. See you guys later. Deuces. Peace.